Zombies have been a pop culture staple for decades. Movies, books, music videos, comics, all having their swing at the genre to great success. But with the advent of computer technology, a whole new avenue of the genre began to sprout. It was a perfect fit, and zombie games gained traction quickly. But in 2012, a new type of zombie game appeared. And now it's all over your YouTube homepage. The concept of the DayZ mod was simple. Drop around 60 people in a huge, open world map with basically nothing to their name, and let them hunt, craft, and loot weapons, vehicles, armor, and food. Then sprinkle a few zombies here and there, a drizzle of survival aspects, a pinch of PvP, and then for the final touch, proximity chat. Delicious. And the open world sandbox multiplayer zombie survival game was served. But first, do you browse the internet and you don't have Opera GX? Oh my god. Opera GX is not your average browser. It's built from the ground up for gamers. The customization is vast, and is that a Big Boss themed mod pack? Designed by experts for smooth, efficient, military-grade browsing purposes. Listen to only the most therapeutic sounds as you open tabs, close tabs, and type. All the while, listening to smooth tracks. And look at that beautiful new wallpaper. Don't like certain features of the mod pack? Well, just turn them off. Don't like the mod pack itself? There's a ton more on the store. Also, Opera GX has a ton of built-in apps. Spotify, Twitch, even ChatGPT, meaning prompts and articles are a stone's throw away. It's also optimized. Clean temporary files from the sidebar using Opera Clean, and limit RAM, CPU, and network usage using GX Control. Now you can keep a bunch of tabs open without a hit to performance, and keep those downloads uninterrupted. And are those free games and bargain deals, breaking game news and new releases? My god, they even have a calendar. Catspill, Sword of the Necromancer, Spacebar Clicker, and Happy Sheeples. GX Corner has it all. Normal browser bad, Opera GX good. Get it now at the link in the description. DayZ was an instant success, and over time, similar games would appear, at first sporadically, but then very, very quickly. Initially, gamers are excited. A promising new genre ripe for exploration. What could go wrong? But by the late 2010s, that question had been answered. A sea of absolute atrocities flood shelves at breakneck speed. There is nowhere to run. These are often in the form of a fairly new early access game, a model that often involves taking everyone's money first and asking questions later. As a result, half-baked, buggy, misleadingly advertised and massively overhyped games swamp the market. And over time, sentiment on the genre changes. People take a look at their Steam library, and after a few years, they'd slowly begun to notice something. All of these games were absolute arse. Open world, sandbox, multiplayer, zombie, survival. Words that once drummed up considerable hype, now ominous warnings to any poor soul in their sights. And after years upon years of terrible cash grabs, it was apparent. The genre had finally reached critical mass. The horde of abhorrent releases was too much. At this point, far too many had been lost to the genre. The dream was over. Dust. Gamers universally vow never to fall for the hype and lies of this genre ever again. But in 2023, a game would release that would change everything. A game that's trailers looked so great, so promising, it would shoot to Steam's #1 wishlisted game in a matter of months. A game that would, after all of these years, finally do the genre justice. Realise the full potential of the open world sandbox multiplayer zombie survival game. This game was The Day Before. It's the 29th of January 2021 and a trailer drops on YouTube. And it looks amazing. PvP, zombies, survival elements, crafting, and does that say MMO. And then those graphics. Whew. This game seemed to have it all. It was exactly what people had longed for. And so naturally, the video gets around. More than 1 million views conjured in no time. The day before is off to a strong start. Over in Singapore, and the developers, Fntastic, are celebrating. And for the two founding brothers, it's time to jump in front of the cam. Edward and Eisen Gotovtsev run us through the game themselves in a new combat gameplay trailer, where they call the game a real breakthrough for the MMO survival genre. And that they'd reinvented everything. Nice. In March, they drop a vehicle trailer. Here, they show us vehicles. And then an extended gameplay trailer in April. People flock to view it, and it racks up more than 1 million views in just one day, racking up millions more down the line. At this point, the trailers and marketing materials are rich, constantly flowing. We're spoiled. But then suddenly, nothing. After April, complete radio silence. We have no choice but to wait. Months go by, and nothing but a screenshot here and a tweet there. Bear in mind, at this point, the official release date is just coming soon. We're starved. But finally, after 5 months of silence, in October, they come back. Another trailer on IGN. This time, a look at the world they'd created from the ground up, including a massive shopping centre. The music choice is strange, but oh well. And wait, there's more. Weightlifting. Nice. And guess what? The brothers are back. They jump on cam again and give a shout out to their global team, which consists of thousands of people from Russia, Germany, Kazakhstan, Turkey, and more. And is that? Oh my god. The release date. Wait, it's 2025? 2024? 2023? Oh my god. 21st of June, 2022. That's just a few months' time. The game goes on a media blitz. Articles are everywhere. It even climbs the ranks to Steam's #1 wishlisted game, beating out the likes of Stalker 2 and even Starfield. Todd is distraught. They use this spotlight to announce a new Fntastic game, called Prop Night. Essentially, Dead by Daylight mixed with Prop Hunt. It releases a few weeks later, in November 2021. And it's fine. Nothing like the scope of the day before, but it works, and sells a decent amount of copies. And with that, they disappear again, not to be heard from again for months. It's May 2022, now just 1 month till release, and still, nothing. What's going on? It's at this point that people on the internet gather together and questions start being asked. This was now the second time Fntastic had gone dark, this time a month before launch no less. Was this game even real? However, in January, Nvidia had dropped a promotional video showcasing the game in 4K, and it's glorious. For that to get posted on Nvidia's official YouTube channel, they must have something. But finally, Fntastic comes out from the shadows. Okay, yes, the game is supposed to be launching in a month's time. However, no, it's not. We've decided we're switching to Unreal Engine 5, and the game will now come out in about a year's time, March the 1st, 2023. The transition to a more advanced and adapted open world engine will make the gameplay of the day before even more fantastic. And with that, they drop the mic and walk away. Okay, so instead of 6 weeks till launch, it's now about a year. Not great, and a bit of a late announcement. Also, the change to a different engine just 1 month from launch, definitely a bit sussy. Then fast forward to June, and a page is discovered on Fntastic's website. On it reads, "Be a volunteer." Fntastic's culture is based on the idea of volunteering. Every member of Fntastic is a volunteer. Naturally, people are horrified. They're using unpaid labour to make this game. However, Fntastic comes out of the dark again. They tell us all of its employees, paid or not, are volunteers. This is because they always try to bring in proactive people with open hearts. Right. What's actually happening is there's 2 types of workers there. Both have salaries, it's just one of those salaries consists exclusively of cool rewards, participation certificates, and free codes. Also, a perfect time to jump in front of the cam again. This time they advertise this volunteer culture on their YouTube, saying how nice it is to be part of their unpaid volunteer team. Wonderful. Okay, yeah. None of this was sounding too reassuring. So people do a bit of digging and actually look into the company. Fantastic. Turns out the two brothers set up the company in the Siberian city of Yakutsk, Russia, back in around 2016. This was back when they just started their first game, Wild 8. This is a small indie survival game, crowdfunded on Kickstarter to the tune of almost $60,000 and with a publisher called Hype Train on board. And the Wild 8 released onto Steam Early Access in February 2017. Success. However, just 9 months after putting the game out, problem. An argument arises within the team and resulted in them ditching the game entirely and ending up selling the rights to the publisher. On to Dead Dozen. This is a co-op horror game Fntastic released in March 2018. It launches in a terrible state, and just 1 month after launch, they announce they're out of funds and that it's over. It's delisted from Steam in under 2 years. Then Radiant One, a small, isometric, free-to-play mobile game released on July the 6th, 2018. This is bug-free and launched without a hitch, but again, it's a tiny mobile game. And finally, Prop Night at the end of 2021. Now in fairness, they actually had given this some post-launch support and even completely overhauled the graphics in an update, which everyone absolutely hated and was promptly reverted. But so far, this was the only game they've actually announced and stuck with for a bit. So not the greatest track record so far. And then straight from all of that to one of the most ambitious MMOs ever made? Yeah. What people initially assumed was probably a fairly big, competent studio that could maybe actually tackle something like this, was actually a minuscule studio that had pumped out a couple of half-assed, quickly abandoned early access titles, and a free-to-play mobile game, and also had a ton of their staff essentially working for free. Not ideal. People also take the time to look into Mytona, the day before's publisher. They'd previously published genre-pioneering hits, such as Chef and Friends and Cooking Diary. So of course, the next natural step was an absolutely enormous zombie MMO. And to top that all off, for the rest of 2022, radio silence again. People are now very concerned. Right guys, we're losing support at breakneck speed here. Something has to be done. And in January 2023, another Nvidia video drops. This time, a lukewarm reaction.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Everybody already knew that if there was a game, it looked good. However, they also drop another video, Life at Fntastic. Here, they tell us they're actually partnered with Nvidia and Lenovo, and get products from them for free. They've now been working on the game for 4 years. They show us how great it is to work for them. Just look at how much fun they're having. It's also worth noting, we don't see an actual office here once. But the main thing here, their app. Turns out, there's this new app they've developed called the Continent app, and they're talking about it a lot. In fact, the whole video seems more like an ad about that than the actual game or company.
With the Continent app.
The description of the video was also literally just a link to download the app. They also post this on Twitter. Okay, now people are really pissed. This game was launching in just around 8 weeks, and they hadn't seen any proper footage in months. Not once had they actually seen raw gameplay. Half the team were being paid in Funko Pops, and now they were being shilled an off-brand Russian version of Zoom. Boys, sorry to say, this thing's not looking good. Wait, Fntastic says. Fine. Actual, raw gameplay is on the way, lads. We'll post it in Discord soon. But then, something disastrous happens. On the 25th of Jan 2023, people log on to Steam and check their wish lists. Is something missing? And after rigorously scrolling up and down to think, hold on, the day before, where was it? Had the game been taken off Steam? Some people load up Fntastic's YouTube page, and even some of their videos are down. Devoted fans fear the worst. The dreaded rug pull was here.
Oh, No!
However, Fntastic rush to the Discord, and they have a little something to say. Hey, so yep, the game has been taken down from Steam, but don't worry. It was taken down due to a bug from Steam maintenance. This whole thing's normal, and it'll be right back. Not long after, they come out with another, completely different statement. So actually, turns out that old name of ours, you know, the one we'd been advertising in every trailer and poster for a couple of years now, well, we'd never actually got round to trademarking it, and Korean calendar app may have got there first, and they're now suing us. And of course, they also announce another delay, and March 2023 now becomes November the 10th, 17 months after the original launch. You know, because of the trademark issues. But then they come out and say that actually, this delay was planned all along. Also, because of this whole situation, that actual raw gameplay we promised to drop, also delayed. What? But don't worry, they have strong legal partners and will take the fight to the courts. They're confident. The result of all of this? Chaos. Fans revolt en masse. Reddit and Discord light up like the 4th of July. Everyone asking the same thing. Is this game actually real? Before, anyone on the Discord who dared to ask would be exiled instantly. But now, even the head mods are asking it. Woo lads, this isn't great. Time to get back on the mic. The storm will calm down eventually, and time will put everything in its place. When the game comes out, people will finally see the truth. They tell IGN. Okay. Public support is now in the toilet, and things are looking dire. Any street cred they'd amassed, already flushed. The consensus was unanimous. This game was a scam. They had to do something, and quick. Gentlemen, we've been promising it for months, but now is the time. Release the footage. So in early February 2023, with apparent approval from their legal team, they decide to release some actual, unedited gameplay. They even have a big fancy countdown for it. But then the countdown hits 0 and nothing happens. The gameplay reveal is then delayed again. But eventually, after citing technical issues, later that week the gameplay does actually release, and the game is finally out there for people to see. Okay, we now know this game is actually real, but there are a few issues. The graphics, they're not great, and definitely not what was shown a couple of years ago. In fact, the lighting looks completely different, and there's a clear downgrade in VFX. It also looks very boring. There's no zombies around anywhere, and the majority of the 10 minutes consists of walking around and checking drawers. People also noticed they'd literally copied, shot for shot, bits of the Cold War Zombies trailer. And, come to think of it, some of those initial marketing materials also look a bit sus. Naturally, the response to this reveal is negative. So on the 8th of February, Fntastic come out with another statement, this time addressing the haters. Anyone can say anything for views, and everyone will believe it, they say. Disinformation needs to be dealt with. Destroying is easy, creating is difficult. In fact, they say after the game comes out, they'll spend a portion of their time fighting disinformation. February 16th, and a new dev vlog comes out. This time, there's absolutely no mention of the Continent app. In fact, by March 2023, the Continent app had been taken down, the website gone, and all mention of it completely wiped, meaning the whole thing had lasted just around 3 months. April 2023. A beta for the day before is announced, alongside a promise to players that there would be no more delays. They get to work behind the scenes with their army of volunteers, and are dead serious about getting this thing out. In June, they even announced new features, like in-game jobs. Become anything from a manual labourer to a musician. Look, saunas. Nice. Despite everyone still thinking it was a scam, they're working hard and getting stuff done. They are gonna get this thing out. There's also an official trailer in June. This time, it's just a Lamborghini driving down a road. At first it seems very random and out of place, But then people realise it's just a rip-off of a shot from I Am Legend. August 2023, and Fntastic are preparing for the worst, in case they lose their trademark lawsuit. They file for the rights to a new backup name, Dayworld. However, people online realise that name could also be a problem, due to a series of books written in the 80s. But nonetheless, the wait for November intensifies. In April, they'd said no more delays, but on November 1st, they announced another delay. Games now coming out a month later, December 7th. Also, only the PC version would be launching, and now via early access. The PlayStation 5 and Xbox versions would supposedly release alongside the full version of the game, whenever that may be. Also, news on the lawsuit. They'd won. And there it is, gentlemen. It's back. Raise a glass. This game is actually releasing. November 2nd, another trailer comes out. This time, people notice that their marketing is now copying from other games. This time, Cyberpunk 2077, GTA 5, and Red Dead Redemption 2. 4th of December. The game is 3 days from its supposed launch, and Fntastic decides now is a great time to come out with a statement saying, "Please don't accuse us of scamming, and please don't accuse us of asset flip." That's not true also. This is in response to a horde of comments online, suggesting those exact two things. But ignore all of that, because for years now, people had been doubting them. Liar! Claims of vaporware, fake trailers, scamming, plagiarism. They'd even been dragged through the courts and came out victorious. And against all odds, their game was actually real and releasing this week. It's even being advertised in Times Square. They had done it, made a real, playable game, and proved everyone wrong. And on December 7th, after a very turbulent 2 years, the day before releases. And it's so bad. The day before was advertised since day one as an MMO. Almost every trailer mentioned the word MMO, and the Steam description, MMO. So naturally, people expected the game to be an MMO. That wasn't the case. The game only hosted a maximum of 32 people per server, there were no raids or clans, and the world itself is small, and not even really open. Basically just an extraction shooter like Tarkov, but much, much worse. That wasn't the only thing trailers lied about. There's also no survival mechanics. Crafting is now gone. All that's left of that is gun modification and the ability to create a completely pointless house in a closed off area of the map. Environmental destruction's gone, sleeping bags, this entire part of the map, and definitely these mud physics, proximity chat, a day and night cycle, no vaulting, and lastly, actual zombies. Seriously, like, where are they? This game was pitched as a zombie survival game, with the trailers showing massive hordes of them, but so far, there's absolutely none around. They're so rare, people actually band together into search parties just to look for them. On the odd occasion you actually run into 3 or more of them, your performance will also tank. In fact, the performance in general is pretty terrible. When you do actually see them, zombies can easily be sidestepped, outjogged, and rendered completely useless when standing on top of cars. Even other players, barely a threat. The game is so empty, people start to think a ton of the gunshots they're hearing on the map are actually fake, placed there by devs to give the illusion there's actually stuff going on. However, say you actually do run into someone and don't have any ammo. Unlucky, because there's literally no form of melee in the game whatsoever. This isn't a post-apocalyptic zombie survival game. Saying that shouldn't be a problem as the loot rarity in this game is completely botched, with rifles, machine guns and ammo pretty much peppered about everywhere. Then there's no progression, optimization sucks, gunplay isn't great, servers often have a 1 to 2 second delay to register shots, constant alarms, and you can't even turn them off like you can in the trailers.
Hello?
Anyways, first impressions is these alarms need to fuck off.
The graphics, nothing like they were in the initial trailers. The lighting is especially bad. You can buy vehicles in the form of cars, but they're dumb. it will take an average of 110 hours of gameplay just to afford one, and you can lose it forever in a matter of minutes. Luckily, there's a money duping glitch discovered within 1 day of the game coming out, so now everyone in the apocalypse has a Lamborghini.
Here in my garage, just bought this new Lamborghini here.
The story? Well, you wake up a man with a seemingly fine speech organ.
Alright, your speech organ seemed fine.
You're then welcomed into a community called Woodbury, where all survivors are located and work together to rebuild. Just after that, you step out into the world, where you and those same people then go out to savagely kill each other in a bloody free-for-all. There's a lot of broken English, and even suspicions of AI voice acting and writing.
Put your things in here.
And then there are the bugs. As soon as you start the game, be careful getting up, as your character likely glitches through a wall, falls through the map, or just dies instantly. Time to restart. Oh wait, that doesn't actually fix the problem, as it's just saved when you exited, and you'll load back in outside the map, with the only option being to restart the whole game. All of this in the initial tutorial, within the first minute of starting the game. Then there's whatever this is. And massive headband. But nonetheless, the game sells more than 200,000 copies, and Steam's day 1 player base is around 40,000 people. The game's done very well. It's even played by big Twitch streamers like Dr. Disrespect. However, the cracks soon start to appear. It instantly acquires the overwhelmingly negative score on Steam, and the Discord erupts into complaints. Hot on the list? This game isn't even an MMO. After Fntastic is called out on this, however, people begin noticing something. The game's Steam page. It's changing. What's different here? See, behind the scenes, Fntastic had quietly been removing tags like MMO and open world survival craft, and hoping no one would notice. They did. However, that didn't even matter, because it's literally right there in the first and only line of the game's description, which they forgot to change. But by day 2, big cracks. 60% of the player base dips over the first night, and an internal leak shows, although the game sold 200,000 copies, 91,000 had been refunded. Dear God. Also, at this point, the reviews are in. Steam's overwhelmingly negative rating is now at just 13% positive, making it one of the worst rated games of all time there, and IGN has just given it a 1 out of 10.
I didn't get stuck.
Nice. But now people actually had their hands on it, it was time to crack open the game files and see what's under the hood of this bad boy. And, my God, it's worse than we thought. After a brief look on the Unreal Engine store, it's quickly apparent some things seem familiar. Files upon files, documents upon documents, thousands of assets flipped. After careful review, it seems that the inventory, building system, gunplay, bleeding mechanic, main menu, and more all come from a $65 Unreal Engine Store asset pack called the Survival Game Kit V2. Even the actual map itself, supposedly a $300 asset flip from the American City pack bundle from the same store, and that artwork looks familiar. There's a ton more, all documented in this Reddit post. Day 3, 80% of the player base is now gone, and Fntastic comes out with another statement. Lads, it's been great, it really has, but the game didn't do too well, and we're closing shop. And the entire studio ceases operations 3 days into the release of the game. Valve removes the ability to purchase the day before on Steam, and personally steps in to offer refunds beyond the usual 2 hours of game time. And Operation Scrub begins. Within hours, the brothers burn everything. Their YouTube videos, LinkedIn, Facebook, a ton of tweets. The lot. Again, chaos erupts in the Discord, which had partially opened back up at this point. Eyewitnesses on Reddit claim the final hours of the official Discord are glorious. From the moment the company called it quits, the Discord apparently goes completely out of control. 2 admins quit right away, and the rest of the admins and moderators start selling cheap keys of the game to everyone since the game had just been pulled from Steam. Eventually, it's just one single dev trying to hold it all together. Meanwhile, hate speech fills up the chat in minutes and is being spewed everywhere. They reply to someone on Twitter, "This was our first big experience, shit happens." And with that, they log off. However, a 180-degree announcement in the Discord. Actually, they're now reopening and ready to go with a major patch on the 14th. But December the 14th comes and goes, and nothing. The Discord is then fully shut down and never heard from again. A few days after it all goes down, a journalist in Singapore decides to actually visit Fntastic's offices. He travels to their address, however, turns out it's a shared co-op working space, having solely used it as a virtual office space. He also goes to their original address based on their filings. However, that building's online directory only shows a management consultancy company. And so, in people's minds, their office had gone from a game dev studio to a small studio, when in reality, the whole time it was more like someone's living room. It's presumed that they were never actually based in Singapore,
Well, that was a load of shit.
and only used this residency to apply for grants and to avoid being hit with Russian sanctions. This also explains why an office was never shown in their vlogs, just people's bedrooms. The dev vlog was also apparently filmed in a hotel lobby, and the devs were in a rental unit nearby. The same journalist gets Fntastic's bank statements, and turns out they filed around $3 million of revenue in 2022, with $200,000 of that going to the brothers. That's alongside $300k in travel expenses for the brothers in just 1 year. The filings also revealed that by the end of 2022, Fntastic had the value of around $1 million in their account. So things do sound a bit dodgy here. But what actually happened? Well, theories are everywhere. The first, a classic, run-of-the-mill rug pull. Take the money and run. However, this doesn't make too much sense. 1, because Valve holds purchase money for 30 days before paying out to developers, so they hadn't even seen a penny from their actual sales yet before closing the studio down. And 2, they offered refunds en masse. Then there's the investment scam theory. Some people believe the brothers had no intention of ever making a proper game, that their only goal was to churn out a nice looking slice of pre-rendered gameplay and cutscenes, packaged as real gameplay, attract investors with it, and then eventually cancel the whole thing and bag the cash. Or give a half-assed attempt at creating one using cheap assets on the Unreal store and the free labour they'd amassed to implement it, all the while paying themselves a cushy 200k salary. And then there's the plain old incompetence theory. Management of the studio completely in over their head, drumming up too much hype, and flying too close to the sun. Post-launch interviews with anonymous developers give credence to this theory. See, not long after the company shuts down, alleged ex-developers scuttle from the darkness of the behind the scenes, and give answers as to what actually happened in various interviews. The picture that we can cobble together goes a little like this. Allegedly. From the beginning of the company back in 2016, the brothers allegedly had complete control over development. Thus, the day before was completely headed by the two, who made every gameplay and design decision. The day before actually started out with cartoonish graphics, and a far, far smaller scope, single player, and basically just a third-person version of the Wild 8. Back then, things were actually manageable. However, one day, the brothers woke up, looked in the mirror, and saw another man.
People will buy anything.
The game had to be bigger, better. 16 times the detail, 4 times the size. And with the brothers' genius management style, apparently consisting of demanding completely unrealistic features in an insanely short time frame, as well as shifting the direction of the game on an almost monthly basis, depending on what game they just played, things were constantly changing. They'd just played Stalker, at that tablet thing. They'd just logged on to GTA Online, new character creator. Played a bit of Spider-Man 2, the city's too gloomy, make it much brighter and a little friendlier. This was apparently constant, Alleged Fntastic insiders also claim the following. Working for Fntastic apparently included unpaid overtime and months of crunch, apparently often working for 18 hours a day, sometimes including the weekend. During the development of Prop Night, the developers were apparently locked in their office for weeks at a time. What's that? Made a tiny mistake or argued with one of the brothers? Well, Fntastic has a company policy of spontaneous termination, so you're now out of a job. Just submitted some subpar work? Well, turns out they also have a policy of fining their own employees, up to the tune of almost $2,000 in some cases, so make sure that works good. The communication to their devs? Impeccable too. People are so well informed on what they're actually developing that it's through the initial trailer that some of them find out that the game they've been working on for years at this point is actually an MMO. So how come employees didn't just dip? Well, the employees were recruited from a ton of small regional towns without much opportunity. So when they were promised a comparatively good salary and a AAA project in their portfolio, they didn't say no. Best part of all, on the backs of this desperate, unpaid labour, they'd spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on travel and paid themselves a nice chunk of change too. Not bad, lads. According to the developers, the Day Before also ended up being remade from scratch 3 to 4 times. Apparently 500 gigabytes of source code was created for the game, the vast majority of which were not included in the end product. The version released on Steam on December the 8th is apparently around 1/10 of all content that was originally conceived, according to insiders. The video for Nvidia was apparently, at the time, a completely separate build created specifically for recording those trailers. But anyway, after 4 years of this messy development, and in 2023, they're closing in on launch day. They have to get a move on, so they buy a ton of packs from the Unreal store and start implementing them. The final game is starting to take shape. They apparently begin actually testing the game as late as early 2023, and it was done by around 5 people. This isn't really considered the most robust testing for a game, especially one that was advertised as a huge MMO and would have dozens of people on their servers. Due to the lack of proper testing, they couldn't stress test and bug test the servers to see what they'd look like when filled. The result? Well, it turned out that when the servers actually were filled, they were completely destabilized, so devs had to reduce the number of zombies on the map, and the hordes of zombies vanished from the game. It's now close to November, and my toner apparently decides to check how their AAA product was doing. The publisher is naturally horrified when they see the absolute state of this thing, and apparently sends specialists. These are basically their own developers sent there to help. However, after seeing it for themselves, they apparently report back that the game should basically launch as is. There was nothing to save here. And on December 7th, it's the big day. And the brothers are now apparently nowhere to be found, leaving the devs on their own to make all the decisions themselves. This is during huge waves of backlash hitting their Reddit, Discord, pretty much everywhere. They apparently get to work on fixing the bugs, sorting the servers, and writing hotfixes. However, they're apparently not allowed to actually release these hotfixes because Dr. Disrespect was currently streaming the game. One of these patches apparently fixes the lack of zombies on the map now that they could actually test the game with more than 5 people. Things are looking up. However, on December 11th, a screenshot from one of the brothers appears on Microsoft Teams. Lads, the game has sold 200,000 copies. However, 90,000 have been returned. We're closing down. And just like that, after 4 days of release, it was over. For a while, the last bit of communication we'd had from Fntastic was shit happens. But on the 24th of January, they returned from the shadows once more. They present us with another one of their now iconic Twitter statements. They essentially deny developers' claims in various interviews, and essentially blame the game's failure on hate from content creators. They get community noted instantly, with people pointing out inconsistencies and flat out lies within the statement. So they take it down, edit it, and repost it. They then get community noted on the repost. They delete it, edit it, and repost it again. Community noted. It's at this point that they just give up completely, taking it down and just adding it to their website instead. From Steam's most wishlisted game to being almost 50% refunded in one day, pulled by Steam and hurled with accusations of plagiarism and potential investor fraud, Some people think the day before didn't quite reach the potential of the original trailer. And to everyone's complete shock, it was beginning to look like the MMO zombie survival game from an indie studio headed by two ambiguous Russian brothers that no one had ever heard of before had failed. And on January the 22nd, 2024, the day before's servers go down for good, meaning the game's total lifespan was 45 days. The game's subreddit today, once large and fairly active, is now largely abandoned and has become an absolute lawless shitshow. And the brothers? Well, they haven't actually been seen since December the 7th. However, according to multiple former devs who've apparently received offers from them, they're out there and apparently are currently working on a new mobile game.